Gents, thank you so much for joining us in this live session. Are we live?
And we're live on
We
all
are live.
channels.
Platforms. Thank you very much for joining us. We shall be streaming a game, but at the same time, we'll be talking about a topic today, which is all about deepfakes. So, what are your thoughts about What are our thoughts about deepfakes, and what are the pros and cons for it? And we'll basically the first thing we'll do is identify the reason or the definition of what deepfake is all about. So, um, without looking up anything though, Jason, if I may ask you,
hmm
what do you understand about deepfakes, and what do you think it does?
I mean, it's just taking anything or any person, I guess. But you can really deep fake
Mm-hmm.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be a person.
Uh-huh.
Um, Most commonly used to like put
Mm-hmm.
somebody else's face on somebody else is like how it's usually used.
Hey, that is true though. Do you know where do you usually see deepfakes happening?
Online?
Which category, which platform, which um, you know,
I mean, there's
uh,
been like, a few things like people have done short videos and stuff. Like there's the whole Keanu Reeves thing where a bunch of
uh-huh.
people were like
I
deep faking Keanu Reeves. Um,
I saw that. Yeah.
and then there was there's actually like a influencer porn site or something I just found out about. Uh, some people are doing videos about it. So because I guess there's like some big stink. Some streamer Atrioc, he got in trouble
Uh-huh.
because he was alt tabbing and like I guess had a link open or a tab open to this site.
Deepfake.
Uh, yeah, and it's deep fake porn. It's like not the actual people, but they deep fake the influencers' faces on
That's that's rather interesting. But that also leads down to a lot of the cons about deepfakes, though, because as much as technology is so awesome and it does a lot of, um, cool, awesome stuff with that, it's it seems to do more harm. It seems, at least the way we see it, right? Like, here's the definition of what deepfake is based on. This is based out of the Oxford Dictionary. Uh, a video of a person in which their face or body has been digitally altered so that they appear to be someone else, typically used maliciously or to spread false information.
them.
So, judging by that alone, like the deepfake for porn you were talking about, that's the malicious piece of it. But the Keanu one seems just fun.
Yeah,
I guess.
and that's the range, right? Is fun or
Right.
malicious.
Mm-hmm.
What is the point? And I don't even know if you could call the whole porno one malicious. Like, I don't think they're doing it as like an attack on the influencer so much as they're like, I want to make money. Like,
Do
malicious, I
tell. Do
think,
tell.
has a form of intent. Like, if their intent was to like discredit the person as, this is actually them.
Uh
But
huh.
if they're like their sites clearly says like deep fake on it, um, it's kind of like fantasy, right? Like if
Right.
somebody
Right.
drew, let's just take a normal celebrity, right? Like let's say
Right.
Britney Spears. If
Uh
somebody
huh.
drew a picture of Britney Spears in like you know a sexual manner,
Hmm.
is that wrong? If they like are selling it, but if you deep fake, you're like putting her face on some naked lady's body. Like, is it because the realism of the one from the other?
That's a very interesting question, quite frankly. The and this is very debatable. You know, to your point, it could be flattering, or some people can take it flattering, or take it as flattery, but rather, or
I don't think it's flattery. Like, I didn't say flattery. I don't see, like, the flattery part of it.
uh, that was me, by the way.
Yeah.
I was using it. I was using an example, or like a probably a poorly choiced word, but it's a the alternative to it is it could come across wrong because the person whose face is being used could be thought of doing those malicious acts, even if they haven't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's definitely kind of what I got out to before, right? When I was talking
Right.
about the intent, and
Uh-huh.
that's where I find it's difficult. It's like, you know, these people are just trying to make money by using a cheap AI trick.
Right.
I don't think their intent is to be like, you know, we're discrediting you because they clearly label it.
Right.
Now, I think it's messed up. I mean, I wouldn't want, you know, my girlfriend or mom or whatever, you know, to be deep faked into porn.
Uh-huh. That is true. So since we're already in that on that topic or on that note, I mean, we can discuss a lot of the cons. I mean, to your point, you know, this deepfakes can is primarily used for for malicious ritual or some weird stuff that people can be doing, right? So, um, what is the range of deepfake? Is it just the face? Based on the definition, it looks like just a video face thing. But there are also some elements that can also be added to it, like that software tool we were talking about just one time. It replaces your voice with another person's voice, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
the Adobe software.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that
So,
does something totally different.
oh,
That
okay.
makes it so you can type, and it sounds like the person with their inflections and everything. Like, you could write a
Uh,
script, and it just goes ham.
oh, right. That wasn't real time, right? Like say for example, I'm talking at the
Yeah, it wasn't
moment
just like a
and
voice changer.
okay, okay. Fair enough.
Which, I
That
mean,
would be
voice
scary
changer is
though.
kind of like a deep fake, because say we're doing a podcast with no video,
Uh-huh.
then we could have whoever on the podcast in a deep fake sense with, like, proper voice changing.
Like this. How
Yeah.
would you know?
But if you had one that it was an exact person, you know, like
Right,
a
right.
famous person or anything like that, it would be, you know, a deep faked voice. Which I guess, yeah, it doesn't have to be
Mhm.
an image, because it could be a voice.
Right.
It depends on the medium you're impersonating. I'd say it's an impersonation.
For some reference, have you seen some of those videos where some player is playing like I don't know, Call of Duty or something, and then or Battlefield, and then he starts talking a specific way, like probably Joker or Anonymous or Deadpool or some famous celebrity like Barack Obama or something,
Mm-hmm.
and then and then whoever they're talking to, I don't know, it's they get a kick out of that. It's like entertaining, but I'm not sure if they're genuinely changing their voice, like you know, just trained voice actors, or are they using a software for that, like a voice replacement software?
I mean, it could
As we're
be a little
saying.
of both.
But there's no way there is a software that good though, or at least
Well,
not that I know of.
a little of both, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like you could be a voice actor who also, has a little the audio change too. Like maybe you
Uh
just
huh.
can't quite get there, so you impersonate and then do that little tweak with the voice changing.
Uh huh. That takes skill though.
Well,
So
yeah,
much skill. Yeah.
it may take skill, but that's not really the point here on if skills needed or not. Whether you're
Right.
doing it with AI help or not, that doesn't really matter, right?
Right. Right. Bec- because that's what the whole deepfake thing actually does. So I'll jump quickly. I'll shift quickly to the pros of it. So one of the pros about deepfake is, say for example, you a really, I couldn't say, Star Wars, the Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
You know how good that they replicated Luke there, like a younger version of Luke. And
Yeah,
the
they did all right.
yeah, so the final episode of, I think it was season 2 Mandalorian, or season 1. Yeah, season 1. So with season 1, that, spoiler alert for everybody who hasn't seen the Mandalorian yet. Um Luke flew in on his X-wing and came on, and people were criticizing when he did a face reveal because his face wasn't very well placed, you know.
Yeah,
Uh, um, but didn't like Disney hire a person who was just a YouTuber who's been using deepfake, I think,
I
to
don't
fix
know.
people's faces.
I think I
I've
thought
read it.
they did something else, and then something like that happened. But that's all I can remember. I don't remember if it
Because
was
as
the for that or a different thing. But I remember there was something with like really terrible graphics that they were doing, and
yeah, yeah.
they got somebody else like put up their version of it, and they're like, "Wow, theirs is so much better. We
Yeah.
should just hire them."
Yes, exactly. That's what I was talking about. So the they hired him, and then that later episode where Luke was with was training Grogu, and Ahsoka just visited Luke, was
Hmm.
just well done. Like people can't even tell. Can It looks so real, like as if Mark Hamill was just alive to this day.
Well, he's not dead.
No, I mean,
He's
I
he's
mean,
just old. Like,
younger, younger,
yeah,
younger.
he's he's not dead. He's just old, man. Poor guy.
Um, excuse my poor choice of words, by the way. like my brain's completely not in here at the
Act like
moment.
he's a dead guy. You're like, he's dead. Like
No,
like they
please.
rose him from the grave.
But that's the whole point of it, right? Like Peter question from Grand Moff Tarkin. He
Hmm.
was revived during the Rogue One episode. I mean Rogue One movie. He
Uh-huh.
was there. So to your point, even dead people can live again through deep fakes. And one of the
Yeah,
pros
which
of it,
that's something that's a negative, I think. But you tell me how it's a pro.
sure. So I'm looking at it from a movie continuity standpoint. Like, say for example, you created a movie that's really good from the, I don't know, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and then because people grow old, um they don't resemble the same character or physique that they're when they played their character probably 23 years ago. So
Like if you
with
wanted to
deep
do
fakes,
a Indiana Jones movie where Harrison
right,
Ford
right,
is his old Harrison Ford self.
right, or the Terminator, for example,
That would
right?
be a good use case. because he's not,
Right.
not supposed to age. But they explained away
Uh-huh.
his aging, which I kind of like that. Like, they got to get a little creative and explain away the aging.
Right. Because he stayed in the world, he didn't die. He didn't do the hasta la vista, hands up, I gotta kill myself in metal, fire or something. And then he aged. But I still think that was the aging thing was he's a freaking Terminator, man.
Yeah, but the outside of him is like to replicate a human. So if he needed
Right.
maybe he need to be in an insurgents group for a long period of time, then he would need to age. Like, what if he's
Right.
like in the group for 20 years before they activate him or something?
Okay, fair enough. Fair assessment. Yeah. So, things like that, you can revisit all old characters that people loved. You can continue old movies, like, you know, that's why these movies sometimes what they do is they create multiple uh entries to the series because you see the characters grow, which is a good thing, but sometimes you just visualize a specific character as they are, like,
Mm-hmm.
during their prime, if that makes sense. Say for
Yeah.
example, Rambo or The Commando, or all those awesome action movies way back when. So at least that's one use case that I could see it be a good thing. Or say for example, just like um something for fun, like the Keanu Reeves one. That that's really interesting. And I have a question for you though. Would a complete 3D replica of you be considered deep fake?
Yeah, of course. If it was hyper realistic.
Yeah, hyper realistic, similar to the Unreal Engine 5 version of Keanu Reeves, and they kind of like showcased that somewhere. I don't know if you've seen it, but it was hyper realistic, and people were struggling to tell whether that was actually him or his 3D self. And he was just saying in that video sample, "This is not the real world. This is made in Unreal Engine 5." And I was
Yes.
like, "Ah, that blew my mind off, man. That was freaking awesome."
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, there's good things for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
stunts that like a person, can't really do, or is really dangerous
Uh-huh.
stunt. We don't have to actually put
Uh-huh.
somebody in danger. It could be all 3D rendered, and you could
Right,
like
right.
fake a person. In that case, through CGI, which I guess then we've been deep faking for a long time, because we've had CGI people in movies for a long time,
Now that you mentioned it, yeah.
replacing actual people.
Mhm.
But I see that also as a big negative, like the whole somebody dying in the middle of a production, or
Right.
because it's your likeness rights now, right? Like, you become famous, whatever your movie star.
Uh-huh.
Or actually, let's use WWE, right? Or WWF,
Cool.
way back when.
Cool. Go
You
for
play
it.
their games today, you could play as Hulk Hogan. You could play as all these
Uh-huh.
characters that they have in the games, because they own the rights to that person,
Right.
like that character that person like built up and created and everything. So they could put them in whatever. So you could see, with deep faking, they could do a wrestling match with like Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan,
Uh-huh.
and deep fake it. And you'd be watching, and it's like, oh, cool! It's like live, and it's like
Yeah.
a new thing, but it's not. It's he's dead, and they're still profiting off his corpse. I think that's
That-
kind of
that-
like,
Messed up.
yeah,
Yeah, I
And
s-
so
I see what you're talking.
what happens then in movies? Like, oh, we paid you to play this character in this movie. You played the
Uh-huh.
character, the movie's done. The next movie they put out, they don't pay you at all. They just hire John Q actor and deep fake you. It's like, well, we paid for you to play the character in that movie, but we're using our assets in this movie
Right.
that we've already procured. So is that actor still worth? Should that actor get paid? Voice and face is being faked.
Hmm. I do have a question about that though. Do, aren't don't they deserve royalties too? Although, to your point, maybe it's just that those royalties only are with that specific movie.
Yeah,
Now,
they
if
get
they
the
create a
royalties for
sequel,
the first movie, but the second
yeah,
movie,
but
if they
not.
just deep fake him in it, are they still
Yeah,
entitled to the royalties of that character because they didn't actually play in the movie?
right. I think that might be something on their contract. Like, probably agents should be mindful of. They should put it on their contract if they use any of the facial features or blah 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 of 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 my client, then royalties are bound to be paid. Something like that.
I
Now
mean,
I'm just thinking out
definitely.
loud.
But if
Yeah.
you can take into effect this, how is it
Sure.
different from animation?
Mm,
Like the person who voices um, Goku in Dragon Ball Z, right?
right, 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 right.
Now, later on, they just create a program that makes the voice of Goku. They don't need him anymore. They have Adobe just
Right,
create the voice
right,
using
right.
all the historical data. So it's actually a newly
Uh-huh.
created thing. It's not like they're not literally copying his words and pasting them into the new thing. The computer is
Hmm.
generating the words. Should that
Right.
person, the voice, the person who originally created the voice and everything, get any sort of that money, even though he's doing no work because he was the
Wow.
basis of that? It like when you do it as
That's
real life things, you would say, yeah, right away. You would think, yeah, they created that. That's their face and their. But in animation, I think it's not the case because if somebody copies the voice, say they get another voice actor who sounds like the first one, the first actor's not getting paid still.
oh my god. That's making me think, man. Like, part of me is saying, yeah, he needs to be paid because that's his voice. That's something off him.
Like he
But at the
created it,
same
right?
yeah, but at the same time, I mean, he's not doing in any work. So I'm 50-50 on this. Wow.
So is your voice and your face an IP now? Is it an intellectual property?
Not until you make it one, maybe.
So are all actors and influencers and like need to go and like register their face and voice as IP, like as their intellectual
Hey,
property?
yeah, so we've got Valkyrie
Wasn't it
in chat.
always an IP? I don't think so. I don't think your face and voice is considered IP.
Um, yeah. And I think that leads to the malicious
Hmm.
part of it, right? Like say for example, we were just talking about deepfake porn. Um, to I think the malicious part of that was people using your photos or using your pictures
Right.
without your permission, kind of deal.
But if you're in a public place, they can. Like I get what you're saying about the ad thing. There's like weird rules with ads and using people's
Uh huh.
stuff. But if I'm a YouTuber and I'm filming out in public, I can film whoever's face I want and them talking and anything because it's the public.
Ah, wait. because it's considered a naturally occurring object. It's not IP.
Ah. So, but should it
Wow.
maybe now with the whole being able to clone a person digitally, maybe it needs
Hmm.
to be like reconsidered as IP? And then what happens when you have identical twins?
Wow.
They can't
Oh
both
man.
hold the IP. What if one sells it? Can the other one sue?
I think you can copyright your face though. Yeah, yeah, that is true. You can definitely copyright your face, turn it into an IP or
Hmm.
something. I haven't heard of anybody do that yet, or maybe I haven't
Yeah.
done further research yet of somebody literally doing that. But
So that goes
that
back
will,
to if you copyright for sake of argument, identical twins. One
uh,
copyrights their face, the other one doesn't. Does the other one that didn't like can he not use his own face now?
well, if they're identical twins, probably the other person would know, and it might be included in a clause that he can use whatever. But imagine if you're not twins at all,
And you just look
and
alike.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You just happen to look alike.
Like there are
Zoe
people who
Deschanel,
look very close to other people, yeah.
yeah, Zoe Deschanel, for example, and Katy Perry. That's one. I know for a fact that I had somebody who's also famous who looked like, I don't know, 2013 John. So I'll send you a video of him. But yeah, he's
Definitely.
actually
When there is that like closeness, it's like whoa, right? That to me, I
right,
just get a
right.
little like cuz there's got to be a way, but at the same time you can't. And I think the naturally occurring things like can you copyright a tree? Not really. But a person has
Yeah, yeah,
personhood, so unlike a tree, which is an inanimate object.
right. So I guess to Valkyrie's point, it's like, um yeah, very very interesting. But the piece to that is like, okay, if for example, um going back to the deepfake porn we were talking about, because these people are profiting out of your face and without your permission, obviously that's not ethical.
But is it your face now? We've changed the argument
Yeah,
to, I mean, unless they're titling the thing this person,
right.
then could you say, well, it's not actually your face. It just kind of looks like you. It's coincidence. Unless you're actually titling the thing, you know,
Yeah, deepfake.
as such,
Yeah.
then is there an argument? Because I mean, there's a bunch of people. There's how many billion people in the world, and a
Oh
lot of
man.
people. There's going to be people who look very close to each other.
Mhm. I actually met people who literally aren't related, but they look alike, and we thought they were triplets.
Really, they're like
Yeah,
that much. 8?
yeah. But it's a very
8, yeah,
interesting topic.
8 billion.
Yeah.
I was like
And,
8.
and,
Oh, billion.
yeah, and the interesting part of that is this is where AI technology actually pulls the data from, and this is why data is, the free access of data in the internet now is very
Mm-hmm.
scary because the AI can literally create random people out of various faces. I mean, this links back to the previous topics that we actually had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is definitely scary. It links back to the previous topics that we were talking about, which was, um how AI is starting to industrialize the creation of art and the creation of portraits, or the creation of, I don't know, anybody. You know, somebody can easily catfish you
Yep.
because they have an AI generated e-girl.
And I think there was either a movie or it was either a movie or an episode of like one of those horror type technology shows where
Do tell. I'm interested.
it's
Yeah.
like, what if you created a person?
Uh-huh.
Like, they're not a person at all, right? AI voice, AI created 3D imaging, hyper
Hmm.
realistic, and you're
Right.
filming movies with this character and like they're becoming a big like movie star.
Uh-huh.
So now
For,
we're erasing the movie star.
right, because we're
Like,
creating the characters in real.
yeah, like we don't
Yeah.
need them, but you still want that draw of a person
Hmm.
because
Uh-huh.
a big part of like the movies and movies they're putting out, right, is the people playing in those movies.
Right.
Sometimes it's not like, oh, it's the best movie ever, or it's the best storyline I've been waiting for. It's just, oh, those people are in it. I'll go see it.
Right. So Valkyrie did say, it reminds her of Vocaloid, and Vocaloid is almost, similar to virtual tubers too. They use almost the same type of technology, tracking, motion tracking,
Mm-hmm.
and all that. It's interesting when they're talking. That's a completely different person, but sometimes, but when they're doing the performances, it's actually voice track. I mean, bodysuit track.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. That's actually one of the projects for me actually to make my whole body move. As you can see, I'm so static.
Yeah.
Oh. So, although I don't think they're scary because it's not the same as a real person, that's
But
true.
it's going to get to where you can't tell the difference, and that's like when they you have these things. I think you always got to be looking to how it's going to change, what direction it's going to go, and the stuff's getting better. Have you
Uh,
seen they have text to video now, to where
right.
AI just makes video. Like you give it a single image and it goes like, okay, I'll make a video out of this. Um,
Oh, right.
and it'll make a 8-second video using that single image as a reference. So there's at some point there will be AI good enough that you can tell it, make me a movie. I want it fantasy genre. I want this many main characters, and it's gonna write a narrative. It's gonna do everything, and it's gonna create a movie.
Hmm.
So no longer will it be like what's on Netflix. You'll just tell
Yeah.
the box what kind of movie you want to watch, and it'll go, okay, generating movie, and then you're watching the movie it just generated.
Wow.
Because the
Give me
narrative
a.
process has not changed. Sitcoms are
Uh,
sitcoms. They're written the same way. There's just slight variations, and people like certain characters. Fantasy movies haven't really changed. They're always the same thing. Or the hero's
mhm,
story has not changed forever. It's like
mhm.
Orphan. Orphan fights evil thing. Like
Uh,
it's like the same thing every. I think in literary terms, it's called like the hero's journey, and it's like these set
it is.
widgets that have to be hit. So once you have these very strict guidelines that we've been building ourselves in literature and all these things, we've built those things. Like,
Yeah. So to your
yeah,
point
we're
here, I
already
wonder.
there, but we're doing it manually.
Yeah.
So that's what
Yeah.
Valkyrie said here, and that's exactly true.
Uh-huh.
Yep, we're churning
Because.
out the same stories over and over again because really we only have so many experiences in life. Also,
Mhm.
like there's only so much we could write about because there's only so many experiences. It's
Yeah.
like you
The
love
old.
someone, you hate someone, you know, you're
Yeah.
laughing or you're crying. Like that's
The only difference that makes it different it are the settings and how that plays out. But the fundamentals behind it is about the same exact thing to your point. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, it's an interesting thought to think about. And imagine a world where that becomes almost instant in a snap of the finger. By command, you can create those similar to how we're doing AI art now.
That's the step that's gonna come in.
Yeah.
I'm like writing on the wall. I know it's coming at some point. It won't be
Mhm.
the Netflix what episodes. It'll just be like I want to watch a romantic
Yes.
comedy set in Wyoming, and it'll just make a romantic comedy set in Wyoming.
Um, I want a fantasy movie set in, and then you start defining worlds
Yeah,
similar to Lord of the Rings.
in the style of
I
anime, and it makes you an anime movie. Like
That's pretty cool though. That reminded me of um because I've also played around some AI art too, and that usually you have to define specifically how do you want your art to look like. Utah, dragons with hats, style of Junji Ito, magical realism. Yeah, exactly. I would like to see how that plays out, by the way. But imagine also the cons to that. Like, if you have AI creating all those movies now, how would that affect the industry? Would that be a positive or a negative?
I mean, a negative entirely. Although it'll make a
Yeah,
niche group, right? Like
yeah.
once there's movies and they became a big thing, and then we had tons of movies. It became this mainstream thing.
Mm-hmm.
What happened? You got indie movie groups, and then they would be a little
Right.
more creative and create new movies and new things that
Uh-huh.
that come out. The same thing I think happens when AI comes into a space like movies, and we're deep faking a bunch of people. There will be the special added, premium of
Yeah.
the materials with this actually has the actor in it, not just
Right.
his likeness. So yeah, like pop music, indie music now, as Valkyrie said, there's gonna be very there'll always be another level, and then those will be, of course, extremely underpaid when they start, and
Uh-huh.
later be the high value item later, which is what always happens. Like the indie film festivals used to be like poor man's lunch to go to, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a bunch of people in vans hanging out at a park, to now they're exclusive things you can only get into if you like have money and know some people. So that's always what happens, right? There becomes a premium for the real deal.
Yep. That's
Yeah,
that's pretty much it.
but
But
it's also super expensive. So it's now everywhere on rappers, billboards, and everything else. But
uh-huh.
it's also, if you wanted something that like this was hand painted by blah blah blah, you're paying a lot more than something hand painted used to cost,
Mhm.
because there's less people. Time is a flat
Well,
circle.
for one, you also have the tools necessary to actually create them too. Like that's where the cost value comes into play. You have to subscribe to a service fee maybe, or purchase of software that probably, you know, breaks the bank on you to create some of these, I don't know, art.
I don't. I wouldn't say so, because the speed of technology now, and because of how technology progresses, these things are becoming cheap rapidly. It's not like
Yeah.
before where new technology would come out and wow, that's really awesome, but it's going to be expensive for 20 years. We're now like at the
Right.
point where it's like, wow, that's awesome, it'll be expensive for the next 3 years. And then the general consumer can get their hands on it. We've definitely made a shift. I mean, Adobe. Most people wouldn't be able to afford Adobe back when. It was like you need to fork out, $1,000,
Oh.
$1,500. Now
Oh,
you
God,
could
I
be like,
remember
I
that.
kind of want to get into Adobe a little bit. $30 a month. Like you could just
Or-
subscribe to it for a month, get into it. If you don't like it, you can hop out
Yeah.
of it. $30 spent. Before you had to spend like $1,000, $1,500 for the Adobe tool. So,
Piracy. Arg.
Arg.
No, I'm kidding. This is by no means encouraging piracy, but it is. It was a method.
Look, the reason piracy is not as bad as it used to be, I mean, it's still bad,
Uh-huh.
but
Yeah.
I don't think it's as big of a deal. Like, when I was growing up, everybody was pirating. I mean, you talk to any of your friends, anything, it's like they're downloading music, everybody. But now it's less so because the stuff is more available and it's cheaper.
Cheaper,
Like,
cheaper, exactly.
Why
yeah.
would I pirate music when I can just pay for Spotify for $5 and have access to like all the music?
Yeah. And that's a nice thing about technology. They literally found a way to simplify that and lessen the impact of piracy. But to your point, piracy is not completely a bad thing because it also helps market the IP. Sure,
Well,
that
and-
it's not getting paid, but
I think it moved things forward too. Like
hey, Swift.
for the younger folks out there, you probably didn't know this. You used to have to go buy a CD, and you had to put it in your computer to play a game. Piracy was during that
Biscuit.
time. Like you
Yeah.
would pirate a game, you had to download it. I think at some point somebody somewhere was like, why don't we just let people download the games from us since we're making it? Why is the only way they could download a game is by stealing it? And I think the same thing happened with music, and that's why I was like, oh, well, MP3 players, like, let's make those, but then let's also make a way so they could pay for the music when they download it.
hmm I do remember
Okay,
the
Swift is
time
like,
when
I
we
got it. I remember those days.
Yeah.
Oh, I offended everybody in our chat.
But that you make a valid point because back then that was the only way we can actually do music. I remember back in high school that was how I was trying to bump up my allowance because people like music and then or movies, and then all I had to do, I had dial-up internet back then, and all we had to do was like, okay, download this stuff and then here's your CD-ROM. Now I want my $20, please. Like 10, 20
remember-
bucks.
Download music, and it's like, oh man, I can't wait to listen to that song in about 20 minutes.
Oh man, the sound of dial-up internet.
The one thing too, like the big change I've noticed is because of subscription things, Spotify,
Yeah.
downloading iTunes, all these things.
Yeah.
And even when it was the illegal downloading of music, you give less shits about the music you listen to. Like you used
Yeah.
to really give a shit. You'd buy a CD. I had a Walkman, little CD player. I didn't travel around with a carrying case with all my CDs. I'd put a CD in, and that's what I'm listening to for the day. Walk to school, listen to that CD. Hang out in the quad listening to that CD. Walk home listening to that CD. Like
Speak for yourself. I carry
the whole,
an
whole
album.
setup.
Yeah.
You had
I
the photo
carry an
album?
album. I had Metallica. I had Linkin Park. I had like Limp Bizkit. I had Slipknot. I had like I don't know, Lamb of God. It was like all in one big bulk bag.
Bigger than the books. You just had
Yeah.
the CDs.
Yeah. So that when I meet somebody on the park while I'm reading a
Mhm.
book, all I had to do was like, "Hey, have you heard of the Lamb of God?" And they totally thought I was preaching to them. Like, are you trying to change my religion? No. Here's my earphone. Listen to it, and it'll blow your mind. And boom, Red Deck comes on. It's a banger.
But you
Scared
get what
her
I'm
away, but
saying. Like
yeah.
the appreciation, because each one of those, like, well, I don't know about out in PI, but in the States, like a CD was like
Oh,
$15. Like
I hear you,
15 to
Mir.
$20 to buy a CD.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of money you're carrying around, in your fold up
Right.
thing.
Right.
People used to break into cars to steal their CDs out of their
Got it.
car.
That is true, and this is one of the power or the good sides of digitalism too, because it
Hmm.
makes things so much accessible. But because it's in digital space, not everybody can actually steal it anymore.
Yeah.
It's the same concept for credit cards. Although with credit cards, the stealing piece happens when your when your information is stolen, but that's about it. The There's nothing physical, and
But
the physical, it's stuck in the radio. Yeah. Yeah, I can't steal my CD because it's stuck in the radio. Exactly. I hear you about the
and
the
and to get back around to like deep fakes though, I
right,
think
right, right. Okay.
I think deep fakes will do the same to people.
Mm-hmm.
Because at some point, these celebrities, I'm sure they'll get deals where it's like, hey,
Right.
you can get paid for not being in things. You
Mm-hmm.
just can sign over, likeness rights, right? And so they sign over to the
Yeah.
likeness rights for a project, and so now instead of seeing that actor in one movie a year, maybe two, you're gonna be like Nick Cage, and you're gonna see him in 6 movies a year, and it's not gonna be that special anymore that you see that person
Right.
in a movie.
Right.
Like Danny DeVito
It's
goes sells likeness rights and be in like 18 movies this year.
it makes a person so much more available now.
But availability kind of is a bad thing, is what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
it lowers your value.
That that was also the point I was getting to, because the more accessible you become, the more easy it is for. There's a term that they say, give them the gift of missing you, and it's the same application, because sometimes your absence adds value to you, to your point. So I get what you're trying to say. I'm just trying to create that analogy or connection. Yeah. But
Yes.
that is true. Oh man. This is actually blowing my mind. I'm so glad I'm the one asking the questions here. And you guys are literally just chiming in on the ideas, but these are interesting ideas that we like talking about, because well, one, it's cool to geek out to these things, but at the same time, it's manifesting into reality now. We already have AI art. And then we have deepfakes. What's next? The AI made movies. So, or I think there are AI made songs too now, right? As far as
Oh
I
yeah.
know.
I mean,
Yeah.
music is probably one of the easiest things to replicate. It's all math.
Right.
I couldn't see like visual. I think is way harder than making
Then
music.
yeah. Now think of the technology behind that too. How are you going to achieve creating movies via AI? With the current state of our technology today, because everything is, I think, if I remember correctly, everything at the moment is digital,
Mm-hmm. Analog
right?
is toast.
Yeah. And if my sources are correct, I know for a fact that this might be a job for quantum computing, but we're still not there yet with quantum computing. Maybe.
I don't think it needs
Mi-
quantum computing to do,
Maybe. And I'm curious about it. I'm asking, by the way. I'm not sure.
because it's, if you think of it as like, oh, there's a single AI that's going to create these things, yeah, you'd need some like massive computing power, but it's not a single AI. Like the movie
Oh.
thing I was telling you about, right? AI movie creation.
Right.
It uses other AIs to create the frames and pieces it together.
Huh.
So there's going to be these different parts. Like, instead of having a studio, now I have server stacks, and each server stack has a purpose. That's the writer, that's the arts department, that's, you know.
Huh. Okay.
And each part will do
Okay.
its function.
Okay, I see the technology and how this plays out. I'm just curious if it needs a super better computer to create these things, or can we do it with the current technology that exists as of today? So, by the looks of it, it looks like I think we can. It's just a matter of when. Mind blown.
Yeah, I mean, it's not today. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And the problem is when it gets too good, right? When
Mhm.
deepfakes become too good, now, I mean, we've been for the last few years. It's like, if I don't see a video, it, you know, I ain't believing what nobody's saying about what happened, right?
Yeah.
To
But that's
where
a
it's
scary.
like, well, I can't even believe a video when somebody says something happens.
That's a scary part because we're starting to blur the lines between fact and lie. Like, from going back to the very definition of deep fake, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's mainly used for malicious intent. So, say for example, um, I have a vendetta against you, Jason, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and I decide to, like, okay, I'm gonna do a deep fake of you saying that Jason actually said this and present this to court or something, you know, and videos sometimes are used as evidence. How can you verify it's real or not if it's well done?
Yeah, if it gets to the point where there's no way to tell, then you're kind of crap out of luck, right? It's like, oh, this
Right,
politician said this. This is him saying that. And it's like,
right,
he never said that. We have no way to verify. So anything can come out as a, like, this is what happened.
right. Now, that's where the countermeasure would have to be in place. Like, what's our countermeasure? The countermeasure here is more like the defense, because it's used mainly for malicious intent. What is our defense against that? I wonder to what degree that already happens. Yeah, it does. And that brings us to the deepfake porn we were talking about earlier, because some of these actors and actresses never gave their consent to using their faces to be made up as a you know
Yeah.
uh, thing, and it is happening. Yeah,
Although if
it's
you
it's
want
a,
to
s-
take
it's a
my
s-
head and put it on like some hot chick getting railed, I'm okay with it. Like,
um j- well, whatever, no judgment for me if that's your fetish. Yeah, I
just
respect you, you're still my friend.
just make sure there's a little tag to send them to our channel. Like, come on, like be fair about it.
If you want to know more, like and subscribe our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And that's so funny, by the way, because I've read articles, or it's been a discussion with the boys too. Like, some people literally use these pornographic sites as a platform similar to YouTube. Like, in fact, there was an actual Taiwanese math teacher who was who was posting videos of him teaching math on actual.
Yeah, there's people who like put like normal type content on
Yeah,
like Pornhub, and it's
yeah.
like, it's not porn, it's just like regular stuff. And they're just
Uh, and
post
the
it.
funny thing is that engagements are actually going there. But that might be a topic for some other time too. Um,
Like
you know,
guerrilla posting. Like you
yeah,
don't
yeah,
belong
guerrilla
here,
post
but I'm posting here.
because you're outside of the norm, you become popular. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
Because
there's
oh,
also fetishes of all kinds, so who knows? Like when you're posting
oh my
something on a
god,
porn site, it could be like, "What? I'm peeling potatoes," and somebody out there, is really into that. Like it's
oh man, I'm af- I'm afraid to think about it now. Either ostracized or popular. Yeah.
yeah.
Ah, I I'm afraid to even think about it.
And
It's
either way, ostracized or popular, you're still getting clicks. So you're selling ad
true.
money, so nobody cares. And that's the internet we live in. Nobody cares as long as they're getting the clicks and selling ad
Yeah.
space.
By the way, that
Making
is
it
happening today. By the way, Valkyrie. People just peeling potatoes. People literally watch those things. It happens on Twitch. It happens on YouTube. Just some VODs. Uh, but of course, there are some context to it too. Like there's like a start and there's a finish. Like there's a beginning to an end of towards the video. And some people, just like my mom, for example, she puts on a YouTube video of just some random mukbang or something, and it's her purpose is number one to watch the food, to duplicate the food, but at the same time to keep her company.
Yeah, there's
Like
stuff that
there's
it's just like somebody doing mundane things,
yeah,
and you know, it's like ASMR stuff too,
uh huh,
where it's mowing the lawn. Like you want to hear the
exactly.
lawn be mowed, like or
Imagine if we create content like that, Jason. Like, you know, I'm mowing my lawn, and here's what happens next. It's just pure lawn. You know how crazy the internet would actually flock to that because of some stupid mundane stuff.
maybe I should use my 360 camera and just like mount it on my head, ride the lawnmower, drink beer,
Yeah,
and be like, you could be like you're driving the lawnmower.
yeah. It's like you know to
Yeah.
what
Hi
Valkyrie
guys,
is
today I'm
saying.
building an IKEA chair. Exactly.
Bang, bang, bang. And people like that stuff. Or it all depends on how you create your titling and everything. Based on my studies of social media marketing, that's also something that appeals. Like you gotta do something that appeals to some audience, and sometimes the dumbest thing or the most mundane thing actually bites. Like
I
say for
I think
example,
it's
somebody,
content trap. It's
yeah,
not
it
even
is.
that much appeal as once you have enough of it. Like if
Uh-huh.
you were to put out every day a video of peeling potatoes, like and maintain them like the same length, like 10-minute long peeling potato video. And every day you put
Next.
out another 10-minute peeling potato video. What
Oh, that's so
happens
funny.
is people watch YouTube and they fall asleep. And then it just
Uh-huh.
plays like the next and the next and the next. And that happens a lot. And so they'll come
Oh,
across your video and be like, "Oh, I'll put that on. Oh, this is nice." And then the autoplay, because you have such a huge collection of peeling potato videos, will just go like, "All right, like we'll just roll into the next peeling potato video." And then at some
you know,
point, it just like starts recommending you all the time peeling potato videos because it thought you loved them so much because you watched like 30 of them in a
um,
row. You must love peeling potato videos. And so now you get more, but because there are such a mass volume of those peeling potato videos, it like will overwhelm you, even though you're not even looking for
this feels like a very personal story.
it.
I didn't know you had a potato peeling channel, Valkyrie. If you have, we'll follow you.
This
I'll
feels
watch
like
it.
a very personal story. it is a very personal story. I watch a lot of YouTube, and every once in a while,
Mhm.
I'll click on something once, and here's the worst ones. Like there was a streamer Ludwig, and I clicked on
Uh-huh.
one of his videos, and then all of a sudden, everything that was ever coming up was his crap. And I watched a
Mhm.
couple, it was fine, but I don't need him taking up my entire thing because he also has like 4 channels now, and so
Uh-huh.
so I'm getting like passed around like, you know, to the different channels. And Mr. Beast, if you watch Mr. Beast stuff, does the same stuff. At
Right.
least he doesn't post that often. But don't
Uh-huh.
click on one of his like Mr. Beast gaming or one of his really, because you'll just get inundated
Thro
with
Right.
all these dumb Minecraft videos. And that's kind
Yep.
of, the problem I have where I end up, block the channel because I've seen so many of them. I don't need to see more. Stop recommending them.
It's just how YouTube algorithm works at this point. Like,
Yeah, it's,
yeah.
you get
That
stuck in a
bring
hole.
it to your point earlier, background noise, for example. It's the reason why my other personal page pops up a lot of news channels because usually I pop on news after work, just
Hmm.
pass out or something, and then boom, every single thing I see now, war in Ukraine, China, it does this. So like, oh my god.
Right. And you're like, I just wanted to like check on it that one time. Like,
Yeah.
I heard about this. Oh, I want to look up something about that. Oh, is that what happened? Oh, good video. Okay.
Yeah.
Everything is now that video.
And say for example, recently I've been watching like DJ mixes on YouTube or Twitch,
Hmm.
and then it just starts giving me all these recommendations of DJ music, and don't get me wrong, I find really some good music out of that, but guys, I want something different now. Like my mood has passed and changed,
Like
but
you
it's
YouTube,
amazing.
what you guys should do is like a button you can press where it like is called anti-recommend. And it basically just like flips it 180 from what it usually would recommend to recommend like the total opposite of what you're
I know
usually
what
recommended. Like,
I know what YouTube should do. What YouTube should do should advertise this podcast everywhere else. So so we can get our PS5s, you know?
so we can get our PS5s.
Like, share, subscribe, kind of deal.
I don't want a PS5.
That
I
would
have a computer. Why would I want a subpar PS5 when I have a computer?
well, in that case then yes, so that we can build massive monster rigs. I need a second
Yes.
rig.
Monster rig. It needs to be bigger.
I'm upgrading anyway this year, so
I might upgrade later. Later this
yes.
year. Gotta move from the 2000 series. At least probably to the
Yeah,
3000. I don't really see the point of the 4000. I can't imagine anything game being created that would need that much juice or CUDA cores or whatever.
I'm
I
working on that.
like my eyesight is not great. I don't
Mhm,
play anything above 1080p. I don't play anything 4K.
mhm.
So what do I need like a super mega graphics card that can do 1,000 frames in 4K a second? For one, I can't see 1,000 frames a second. Two, it's like I would never play on 4K because I don't need things too small.
Imagine playing on a screen bigger than a cereal box. Yes, that is the goal of massive screens or multiple screens. And if you're like me, who likes ripping out my GPU a lot, 4K Spider-Man.
Well, I have a 55-inch TV as a secondary, and then I have a 32-inch monitor. And like that's
Uh-huh.
I have a 2 monitor. It would be nice to have a third monitor. But I got the two and it works out. I like having the big screen because I'll throw movies on the big one. And it was
Yep.
cheaper than a monitor. Like you can get a 55-inch TV at Walmart for $300.
I can't see what I'm playing. You should get new glasses then.
Yeah, that would probably be good. New glasses. I got new
Yeah.
contacts. That's why I'm not wearing glasses. And that was so I could play
Uh,
my VR games because it was really annoying wearing glasses and trying to wear a VR headset.
like I can imagine. I'm about to get to VR. Though that's
Good,
one
then
of
we
my
can play
next projects.
multiplayer.
Yeah,
I want to play multiplayer.
totally. But that's also one of my projects. Like, okay, for this whole project that we're doing, it's something that I also intend to invest on, like mocap. You know how I shared that cheaper mocap thing now,
Oh
so
yeah,
that you can, yeah, you literally wear this suit, or you just put something on your wrists and something, and then it captures you. So if you have some Unreal 3D model, or we can bring that to life to make it so much more lifelike, almost to Valkyrie's point earlier. It's like
yeah, and
Vocaloid almost.
mocap is getting so cheap, especially
Hmm.
if you just want to do the Hive. I don't know if it's Hive's the right word. What's the VR set starts with an H?
Uh, 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 Hoarding.
I can't
Sorry.
think. Anyways, they're the ones
Yeah,
that have those things that go to
VR set. Let me
your
look.
wrists and stuff, like the belt one and the. And I mean, it's good enough mocap. It's not as good as the suit because that captures like more areas, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah. Are you nearsighted, Valkyrie, or are you farsighted?
Vive, not
Vive.
H, not H, not an H. It's Vive. Yeah, the Vive sensors.
Okay. Yeah, that would be a really cool setup too. I was thinking of that because I was getting into what game was that? Uh, It's like an online it's not really an MMO. It's like VR world. Let me check my games. Let me check my Steam.
Maybe now that we talked about deepfakes, we should just like do a deepfake interview. We'll go use the AI and I have Adobe. We can make it say whatever we want. We just got to put samples in, and we can
What the
interview
fuck?
anybody.
We can't do that to prove a point too. Yeah. Question is, who are we deepfaking?
Well, have
Oh, I know what to do. I can print out my VR face on paper and go live on cam with with a paper stuck
just a
to my
paper
face
mask.
and call it deepfake.
Deepfake.
You know those old school party masks that's
Yeah,
pretty
the
much like
flat ones.
cardboard. Yeah,
Just cardboard
and
with
then
something
you
stuck to it.
yeah, and then you wrap it on your face. It's like shallow fake.
Shallow fake. That would be about it. It would definitely be the shallow fake.
A But guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We wanted to talk about and geek out a lot about recent advances in technology, and this is definitely one thing that kind of piqued our interest. Primarily because there's so much that technology can do, but at the same time, there's pros and cons to it that we wanted to talk about. But at the same time, share some personal experiences and learn a lot from discussions like these. Quite frankly, the most entertaining part of this whole conversation is that I came out smarter than once we started. I kind of realized, oh wow, there are certain things to think about um
I feel
when
dumber.
Oh my god. That's whatever you hang out with me, my friend. I think the emptiness of my brain passes over to you, and the fullness of your brain passes over to me. So there's some sort of exchange going on here, but it's
My head's so big.
uh, I do apologize if I'm not contributing much to your brain power. Uh, but I feel smarter, which I think will empty out tomorrow after I sleep.
Yeah, and a big thank you to the chatters. You know, we had Valkyrie and Swifter came in here saying hi. That was really nice to have that chat action going on.
Yeah, and maybe one of these days we'd like to invite you also as guests of the show, and then we can talk about certain things that you feel like you want to talk about, geek about, and we'll probably want to learn more from the stuff that you guys want to talk
Hey,
about,
so
what
still
interests
here.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go on the big screen over there.
Yeah, we'll definitely put you on there. Or since I do 3D stuff, we can literally create like a TV, uh, like one of those robots with a TV head, and then your picture, your avatar picture
Moss
in
or
it.
Moss? No Moss. No Moss.
Want to hear about Moss or Moss? Oh yeah. So for the record, Valkyrie is actually a biology student. So anything biology related, she might have some insights about, which is pretty cool. So we can definitely talk more about that. It could be an interview type. And then Swift, maybe we can talk more about your favorite games and all that stuff, or things that interests you. You know. Oh, I'm sure you'll be one. You're probably better than me in terms of biology. I lack the knowledge in that field still. All right. Well, Jason, any last remarks? Anything you guys you want to add to the table prior to?
No.
Awesome. Well, guys, I hope you guys are, have a wonderful rest of your day, evening. To our viewers on YouTube, thank you so much. We've got five viewers at one point on YouTube. Sorry, Facebook, and then for YouTube viewers, thank you so much. Twitch, thank you. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the videos. It helps us significantly for our computer upgrades and PS5s, of course, and to help my body move. But thank you guys, and we
just want to someday have fuck you money too.
All right.
Bye. Thank you very much.
Bye, guys. Have a good one.